What's up, everyone? We're getting back on the Marvel train and we're talking about Thunderbolts. It's directed by Jake Schreier. I hope I'm saying that right. It stars Florence Pugh, Sebastian Stan Wyatt, Russell Olga, Kurlenko, Louis Pullman, Geraldine Viswanathan, David Harbour, Hannah John Kamen, and Julie Louis-Dreyfus. Deep cast. And the film is essentially a group of these anti-heroes who get caught in a deadly trap and they're forced to work together on this dangerous mission. This is like Marvel's Suicide Squad. It's like the Marvel B-list, if you will, and I don't mean that as an insult. We have Florence Pugh here, who is a movie star, and she's damn good in this film, but we'll get to her. We have Florence Pugh, who's a movie star, kind of the lead. We have your Sebastian Stans, right? But then you have the rest of these characters who were either one-off villains or side characters in other projects. You have John Walker, who's very good, but he was sort of a side character in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. You have Hannah John Kamen's Ghost, who was the villain of Ant-Man 2. You have Olga Kurylenko's Taskmaster, who is in Black Widow. So there are these people put together, David Harbour, Red Guardian, of course, but there are these people who were kind of put together to lead this movie. And at first, when this movie was announced, I'm like, well, the Thunderbolts are different in the comics. There's some cooler characters. There's Baron Zemo. There's the Abomination. There's like Norman Osborn's involved. So I'm like, oh, wow, are they really just trying to compete with DC's Suicide Squad? Or are they trying to give these B-list MCU characters their chance to shine? But I got to tell you this. Not only is this movie pretty damn good, I am in love with all these characters by the end of it. This is a very good comic book movie. It's certainly better than Brave New World. I don't want to get hyperbolic in terms of I feel like with the MCU, we're always comparing it to different movies. I just want to talk about this movie as it is. Pleasantly surprised. I very much enjoyed this movie, and I'm surprised at how much I felt during it. The movie is very aware of what it is and the characters they're using and how we feel about them as the audience. And it really takes that and runs with it, and it turns into something pretty damn meaningful. It's apparent that the movie's really trying to say something. It's really commenting on theme of loneliness, depression, mental health, connection, and I think it does a really effective job at it. It's a really emotionally effective movie, and I think there will be a lot of people who deeply connect to this movie. I found myself being very emotional at various points of this movie, some people in the theater around me too, and I think if you're someone who is experiencing similar things or looking for a comic book movie to tug on certain heartstrings or hit you in a certain place, I think it'll really work for you. I wouldn't be surprised if many people refer to this as maybe their favorite MCU movie in recent memory or one of the most beautiful MCU movies that they've seen, because it really does try to get into the inner core of these human struggles with these very serious things that this current generation, especially the younger generation, has dealt with more than any other generation. And I talked about how it's self-aware of what it is. These characters are all there in the way they interact. They kind of get under each other's skin and get into the dynamics of what they all are and the purpose they served in the past, and tries to bring them together to give them something really meaningful to do as a team right now. And I think that really works. I went into this movie being like, I don't care about half these characters. I don't even really identify with half these characters. And by the end of the movie, I was so drawn to them, and I am now through the roof that we're going to see them in Doomsday. You'll never be bored either. This movie has really great pacing. It keeps you moving right along. Even like the little moments between characters and their dialogue keep things moving, that there's a lot of energy there. And I think the action in this movie is pretty creative. The look and feel of it all, the production quality of it too is really, really solid. It does look and feel like a movie. I know in the trailers, people were joking. It would say like the cinematographer of this movie, the production designer of this movie, the editor. They put it all together, and it really works. And some of that behind the scenes IMAX stuff that they released, you really see the care in this movie. The script is really tight too. It's really focused to these characters, and like I said, there's a very clear direction it follows throughout. It's not one of these movies that gets lost trying to be a sequel to another movie. It's not trying to do justice to what one of these characters did in their other movie. It establishes their past, it establishes what they are, but then it hits the ground running with them, and then it's only looking to move forward with these people, and I think it's great. Pretty funny too, not only in the sense that it knows how we feel about them, but someone like, David Harbour's Red Guardian, and when he gets brought into the picture, and just the way these characters banter with each other and some of the other sort of in-universe jokes they make, it is really funny. I think the third act is pretty subversive. You're used to these MCU movies having this bombastic, crazy action all over the place third act. And this one does have really cool action and really cool set pieces, but it's looking to accomplish something way different, both in terms of the messaging and how it's using these characters to defeat the threat, if you will. I was really impressed with how this movie wraps up, and this movie has an absolute banger of an ending. One of the more fun and, in my opinion, cool MCU movie endings in recent memory. I know some people said this about Brave New World. I think this applies more to Thunderbolts. In the best way, I mean this as a compliment. There's a lot of this movie that does feel like it could have taken place in phase 1 of the MCU. And I'll say this too, I'll tease you right now about it. 2 really cool post-credit scenes, one really fun one, and one that's pretty damn epic. And that gives you the taste, that gives you the feel of what it was like at the beginning of Marvel, the beginning of the MCU here in phase 1. So compliment, feels like it could have been a movie that took place in phase 1 in some different universe. It's dark. I would say it's one of the darker MCU movies, not in terms of how some things unfold, but also with the theme and the messaging. And I really appreciated that because, like I said, I'm going to sound like a broken record here. I do think people are going to walk away from this movie and actually be able to tangibly connect with something. And I don't think you can say that about a lot of MCU movies. I don't think you could always say that about a lot of comic book movies either. The number one thing for me, number one thing why this movie works so well, Florence Pugh. Absolute movie star. The MCU is not only lucky they have her, they are lucky that she is giving this movie 110%. If it were up to me, she would be as close to front and center in Doomsday as possible. I think she should be the co-lead of the movie with like an Anthony Mackie. I think what she accomplishes in this movie, the way her struggle, her journey is what fuels this entire thing. And Florence is such a professional actress. She's such a pro. She's sensational. She's outstanding in here. And I think by the end of this movie, her Yelena is solidified, in my opinion, as one of the strongest lead characters the MCU has, especially in terms of its newer heroes, sort of the heroes introduced after Endgame. I think she's the top of that list, but I think she will definitely be able to hold her own in incredible fashion with your Chris Hemsworth, with your Mark Ruffalo's, with those sort of characters. And I'm really excited to see how not only they use her in Doomsday, because she has that presence, but like I said, I enjoyed all these characters so much. I think it's brilliant that they're going to be in Doomsday to some capacity to both bring a different feel and a different energy to the team and just the overall experience of what Doomsday is supposed to be. Right behind Pugh is Lewis Pullman to me as Sentry here, or Bob. He's Bob, but he becomes Sentry. That's not a spoiler. That's in the trailers. He's really damn good. He has to play this sort of Jekyll and Hyde thing, which you'll see, and I don't want to give too much away because a lot of that is a spoiler. But there's a really interesting progression he goes on in terms of being kind of awkward and quirky, and then there's mystery, and then there's terror, and he has a lot to do, and I haven't seen him in much besides. I know he's in Top Gun Maverick for a little bit, and he's kind of doing his Top Gun Maverick thing at the beginning here, but then he progresses into something else, and Sentry becomes a very interesting character. And the more you dive into who Sentry is and what this Bob character is some of the hardest hitting stuff in the movie, and I was in for it. I think David Harbour is just a force, man. He's just a force. I really liked him in Black Widow. I was excited to see him again, and he just is a spark in this movie. And maybe for some people it'll be too much or over the top, but I think it's done in excellent capacity. And when he has scenes with his daughter, Florence Pugh's Yelena, there is magic that happens, and probably some of the more memorable scenes in this movie have to deal with them both. Julia Louis-Dreyfus is someone I want to touch on because I couldn't stand her before this movie. Any cameo or small role she had, I just thought it was cartoonish. It was ridiculous. I think in this movie, it works. I don't know if it's because her sample size is as large as it's ever been, but the way she's used in this movie, the attitude she has, the type of character that she is, it really, really works. And I'll close with this. Sebastian Stan is solid as always. He still does his supporting role thing. I do wish he's the only character I wish we got a little bit more of. However, we've seen so much of him in the MCU, and he has had these journeys he's already went on to a very high degree. So he's kind of the person in the cast who's like the veteran who's coming back. He does his job, and that's it. and it works for me. Also, he's an Oscar nominee now, so shout out to Sebastian Stan. You give this movie a chance, I think you're going to have a great time with it. I certainly think it has the chance. I know I haven't seen Fantastic Four or Superman yet, but I think this movie has enough juice. I think this movie has enough sauce to where it could end up being maybe the best comic book movie by the end of this year. I'm anticipating Superman and Fantastic Four to be better. I am. But I do think for some people, the things it touches on is going to hit them so hard to a point where I don't know if the other two movies this year are going to do that. Bring everything full circle, great pacing, tight focused script, really solid direction from Jake Schreier here. I haven't had a chance to talk about him enough, but he does a great job. The action's cool, the visuals rip, and the cast is really, really good. And most of all, there is genuine emotion that I think is going to make most people maybe well up just a little bit. For some people, I think you're going to cry a lot, and that's a good thing. Really enjoyed Thunderbolts. I'm giving this movie a very strong 8 out of 10, and I cannot wait to see what you all think about it. Let me know in the comments when you see it, if you liked it, disliked it, and any other thoughts about it. Damn, I'm like really excited to see this movie again. That's the best compliment I can give it. And I'm very excited to see this movie again, and I'll be very excited to see you all again very soon.